Rob, you've been a busy man the past few weeks. You having fun with it?
Hey, Brandon. Yeah, Denver was just amazing. And then I came back via Zurich. There was a Hedera board meeting and then spent some time with the guys at the Hashgraph Association. So, yeah, I've been traveling the world, but happy to be home again now.
Not 100% positive, but I might be going to Zurich as well. I had a blast at HederaCon. We
Cool.
had fun there doing the live shark bites, but we have a bunch of questions here today, and you have a hard stop here in about 25 minutes. So we're going to
Let's do
try to
it.
get through as many as we can. All right, so
Okay.
NASA actually has three. The first one is I watched your panel in HederaCon. We're getting this question a lot. Are we working with Swift?
I don't know, we working with Swift. There's a lot of interest in this, and the panel was awesome, wasn't it? I mean, the contributions in the panel, in particular, Elisa DiCaprio, who's from Swift, on my panel at Denver. She was formerly of R3. We've got quite a few R3 alumni in the marketing team and across the various ecosystem partners. So it's not a surprise that former colleagues were invited to join the panel or the various panels. Elisa was talking a lot about what Swift were doing. I was talking about what AP Plus and Hedera were doing. We didn't cross the streams at any time. So anyone who is drawing conclusions between what we were saying is just speculating. I mean, it is true to say that Australian Payments Plus, runs on Swift technology. Our new payments platform, our faster payments platform, is built and operated by Swift. So we talk to Swift all the time. We are owned by the Australian banks, all of whom have Swift relationships. So there is an ongoing conversation with Swift from my perspective. I can't talk to the rest of the ecosystem partners or anything that might or might not be happening there. And to be fair, an organization like Swift wouldn't announce anything until it was a done deal and it was built anyway. But it's great, isn't it, that these conversations are being had? We're openly debating how the Web3 space is maturing, how the enterprise utility and usage of Hedera and Web3 is maturing too. So I'm pretty positive that these things will weave together over time, maybe sooner rather than later. Who knows?
All right, fingers crossed. So the next one I haven't been following very much, but I'm hoping you have. What's your opinion on the digital euro, and is Hedera a key player?
So, so Christine Lagarde made an announcement last week, I believe, about the digital euro. I think this is in the context of the new U.S. administration and Donald Trump saying that there will be no CBDC, so no central bank digital currency in the U.S. And it appears that the Europeans have accelerated their own CBDC efforts, maybe in that context, maybe as a competitive edge. It is true to say they've been working on this for 5 years. There's no actual evidence that it's even going to be on a blockchain. So, the European CBDC projects have investigated all sorts of different technologies. I'm not aware of Hedera being involved in that, but like I said, there's a push towards a central bank digital currency in Europe, and Christine Lagarde said it will be by the end of this year, which is would be pretty momentous, I think, if it moved forward quickly. As we've often seen in the past, CBDCs are characterized either wholesale or retail. They've said that it's not going to replace cash, so I assume that it'll be the wholesale end of the spectrum. Although I have read some reports that suggest that they'll be looking at a kind of a retail solution for CBDC as well, maybe operating in parallel with cash. Retail CBDCs are highly disruptive to financial ecosystems and financial stability because it kind of replaces commercial banking relationships with central banks. But the Europeans have been working on this for quite some time, so very interested to see how that will pan out.
I'll be honest, I don't see any reason for most CBDC applications. For the most of the money that's created is created through the banking system, and we already have stable coins. We're seeing banks start to participate in that. So I think most of it could be handled on that front, but we'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, that's the view in Australia as well. But I mean, wholesale CBDCs are. I mean, there is a case for. There's a very strong case for actually for optimizing and efficiency and speed. But it doesn't impact the the citizen, the retail users of these new forms of digital money, and that's where stable coins and tokenized money market funds and deposit tokens and all of this kind of rich tokenized money comes in. So, but we'll see. I think the key takeaway for this is that Europe, one of the massive economic blocks on the planet, are moving forward with a central bank digital currency. So, things are moving quickly.
All right. So for this next one, we've gotten this in a lot of different shapes and forms, but we can take it in a little bit different direction. So Naza's last question is, should we be concerned about the time that a new governing council member takes to announce that they've been accepted? Why does it take so long? So Rob, of course, we've talked about this a fair amount in the past, that it is up to the governing council member when they actually make the announcement. But there does have to be some kind of time limit. It can't be completely open-ended. So I know there is a deep pipeline, but is there some kind of time limit there as to from the time they're accepted to the time that they actually announce?
Um, I'm not aware of a ticking clock. There may well be. I think there'll be a natural time between the governing council. So it's just as a reminder, the membership committee does all the upfront heavy lifting. In fact, many of the ecosystem partners do work before then to prepare that council candidate for assessment by a membership committee. Membership committee then transparently and openly, discusses with that candidate and presents it to the council. There's no filtration there. It's just a kind of a preparation stage, and then the council votes. That preliminary stage can take year or more. I mean, we're just discussing one right now, actually, that's taken over a year to get to the MEMCOM stage, and yet another one that's been there in almost less than a month. It feels right. It's just an introduction and straight into MEMCOM because they said, "Yeah, we want to join." So that then comes to the next council, and then it's handed over to that new council member once they've got approved and voted by the council. The reason that there is it all goes dark at that point is our market integrity policy prevents us knowing the exact timing of the announcement, but it's usually not long, right? There are now responsibilities, obligations on that new council member, such as running a node, and so there's some preparatory steps that they need to go through post approval in order to get ready and to be a full member. But they can't join the council. They can't actually physically attend a council meeting until the announcement has been made. So there's a little bit of a sort of timing tension there as well.
All right, understood. Now, this next one isn't exactly your wheelhouse, but I'm hoping Nil Mini might have caught you up to speed or something along those lines. So, John asks, does the new administration allow for U.S. financial institutions to fully and openly adopt their crypto strategies? And will these institutions see benefits to joining the Hedera Governing Council? Now, Rob, we do have some banks that are on the governing council, with Standard Bank out of Africa, and then we have Nomura in Japan. But it would be nice to see some large banks in the U.S. join the council as well. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it really would. I think there's always a seat for a large bank on the governing council. I would say. I mean, not always, but we're very welcoming of institutions, all institutions that want to use Hedera. And every new council member now has to come with at least one use case with an intent to build. So I think the question is talking to the recent news around the OCC in the US, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, where they've said that And I'll just read this off now. So they published an interpretive letter 1183 to confirm that crypto asset custody, certain stablecoin activities, and participation in independent node verification networks, such as distributed ledger, are permissible for national banks and federal savings associations. So that interpretive letter has kind of confirmed or clarified that the OCC is supportive of financial institutions in the US participating in these crypto activities, so issuing of stable coins, custodying crypto assets, and participating in network consensus or node validation, as long as the risk controls are applied to these new and novel activities in the same way as that they have been, similarly strong risk controls as applied to traditional banking. I think this is massive, actually. I think for US banking, this clarification will lead to many more banks offering crypto services either through custody or stablecoin or deposit token type issuance, which can only be good, right? It can only be drive the whole industry forward. And like I said, any one of them is very welcome to build on Hedera and potentially apply to join the governing council. But they better hurry up because it will be full fairly soon.
You keep telling us that, Rob, but we want to see it come to fruition. All right, so the next one comes from CryptoKin1337, who asks, "What's the latest word on Hedera integration with Axelar and Layer 0, and are more interoperability / bridges coming?" Now, right off the bat, I had a great conversation with both the CTO and one of the founders from Karate Combat, and I love the fact that they were talking to the HBAR Foundation about them doing their interoperability with AgLayer and how they're using it for Hedera interoperability. The HBAR Foundation had no clue that they were doing it, and it's been fully integrated, and you can completely do it right now. And of course, we also have the native solution for bridging, and that's Hashport. But we have these other two that are coming pretty soon. Do you have any insights as to what's going on there?
Yes, so both Axelar and Layer 0 integrations were announced, I think last year. They are progressing. My understanding is that they'll be fully integrated pretty soon. I think Layer 0 probably first before Axelar. There have been some changes that have been required on the Hedera side in order to incorporate or integrate those bridges. So yeah, pretty soon actually. I would think within the next month or so for Layer 0, hopefully, fingers crossed. And Layer 0 is actually coming up in many conversations, actually. I mean, because it's kind of a general purpose bridge framework as much as a bridge in its own right. So there are a number of projects that I've been talking to that are kind of both using it and planning to use it when it's it's fully integrated. So I'm thinking that there's probably some good kind of tailwinds on that particular integration.
Get that liquidity over to our ecosystem. Introduce 100%. People by bringing those tokens over to our ecosystem. It only can be a good thing. All right, so This next one, I'm sure you can probably take it in a new direction, but we've gotten this in different forms many times. Liam says, "Here's the biggest question I have regarding the HBAR ecosystem. We hear about all these use cases from all sorts of businesses, but TPS on mainnet and testnet have been stagnant for some time. Are enterprises building on Hedera in a way that doesn't result in TPS, even temporary? Uncle Stuggets has one that's pretty similar. We see dApps building on Hedera like crazy, but TPS lingers around 3 oftentimes. What's going on to cause TPS to skyrocket, and what's a realistic average TPS on Hedera by the end of 2025? So, Rob, can you cover this in a new way for Liam and Uncle Stuggets?
Liam and Uncle Stuggets. If we think about this in a slightly different way, right? Just one TPS, right? To get one TPS on the network is 31.5 million transactions a year. Okay, so that's the number of, if I get my math right, that's the number of seconds in a year. So if we were to have an application that used HCS at 1 TPS, that's the equivalent of let's say $300,000 a year cost mean, that's quite a significant cost to actually absorb within a business, and therefore you have to provide some kind of utility that people will pay for. You know, we've seen, you know, with Atma.io at 3,000 transactions a second, you know, that would be, you know, $1 million or something per year. So getting product market fit is really important. So for one TPS, and people looking for hundreds, if not thousands of TPS, there are going to be very few big, high throughput use cases at the moment. In the future, I think many, many more, but that will do, you know, in the orders of hundreds or thousands, because the product market fit is still, you know, it's still early. But what we do want, and what we can see, is lots of utility across lots of different applications, you know, contributing those ones and twos and threes, three TPSs, in a way that maybe, you know, the commercial model is that the consumer pays, or that it's absorbed in different ways, or it's paid for in different ways. But there's always a commercial angle to this, and there's a commercial consideration. So on both sides, right? So that there's you know, who's going to pay for that 1 TPS or that 100 TPS or that 1,000 TPS, because there is always a cost. And there's a cost to the network as well, of course. And then on the other side, there's the revenue. So we need to raise both, you know, utility and cost, and therefore revenue for the network. And we should not do that. I believe we should not do that with one or two big flagship use cases, because, you know, that's a very risky approach. Like, you know, in any business, it's risky to have a single customer, you know, because it's, you know, very easy for them to move away, presumably. So we're building an ecosystem. We're building lots of utility across and uniquely in this space, I think Hedera has the ability to provide services that are as appropriate to sustainability use cases as degen use cases, or supply chain use cases, or, you know, karate combat and gaming use cases, or earthlings and, you know, metaverse use cases. So, you know, that we have all of this potential rich use case, broad range. And then there's these new and emerging use cases around AI and deep-in, and, you know, and potentially, you know, some quantum type use cases. So there's a great range of different use cases, all of which will be contributing their ones and twos and threes, or hundreds and 200s and 300s, and we will get there, right? I mean, we'll absolutely get there. But you know, we hang on to big high throughput use cases, and I think those are likely to be icing on the cake once we've got the layers of all of these this other usage coming along. But I'm sure this question will come up time and time again. We were in a great position when Atma was, you know, driving its experiment at 3,000 transactions per second. I think we're all still coming down off that high and looking for the next big one. But actually, I would prefer to see, you know, 100 or 1,000 different projects all contributing, you know, 1 TPS.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. All right, Rob, you only have 4 minutes left, so I'm going to hit you with 2 more coming from one person. Arcade Galaxy has 2. The first one is, are we still working closely with Nvidia on chips? And second, when can we expect to see a new governing council member announced? Will it be a company that will shock the world? Give us a hint. We need some hope.
We need some hope.
Yeah.
Nvidia. So that's Equity Labs.
Equity Lab, yep.
Jonathan Dutton was in Denver. I had a chance to talk to him briefly. No new news on that. You know, it's not Hedera working with Nvidia. It's Equity Labs building the firmware to go in the Nvidia and Intel chips for verifiable compute. As far as I know, that's progressing nicely, and will come to market when it comes to market. And governing council members. Well, there's a governing council meeting tomorrow. And there's a particular agenda item which has some interesting decisions to be made. So I'm going to leave it there.
All right, that works. Rob, I know you have a hard stop here. We appreciate you coming on here and answering these questions week in and week out. We'll see you next week.
My absolute pleasure. Great to be back, Brandon. Cheers.